Coffee. Check. Ninjala anime. It's on my other monitor. Check. Let's go. I am confused and intrigued at the same time with Ninjala anime episode 18. Kind of like you see in a lot of other animes, this episode kind of is more of a setup episode to what's to come later. But at the same time, bits and pieces of the story I don't think needed to be there to have the episode, pad its runtime. I feel like they could have did some more with the lore. So I guess that's why I'm kind of confused at this episode, but I'm also intrigued because there were some interesting bits of lore and stuff that we got in this episode that I'd like to talk about today. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all the core gamers out there. CAJ Man 777 here, and welcome back to another Ninjala anime episode discussion. Today we're going to be talking about episode 18, and this one, like I said, it's interesting, and I kind of have a lot to say about it, and I also don't have a lot to say about it. You'll see what I mean as we get to it. So I kind of want to get straight into it, so I hope you guys are here and you guys are ready to go along with the ride. And if you are, of course, do me a favor before we go any further and hit that like and subscribe button to try and help this channel reach 5,000 subs by the end of the year. Hopefully we can get 3,000 before the end of next month. I'd like to. I'm going to a convention, and I think having 3,000 by the time I go to the convention would be sick. But yeah, let's talk about the Ninjala anime, because the episode opens up with a very interesting plot point, and that plot point is learning about Berecca's father. If there's anything to go by with the last episode preview, something big is gonna happen in this episode.
Leonard さんが？
ショーン博士の同僚だったそうじゃな。
はい、父が調査活動の事故で亡くなった時、一緒だった方です。
にわかには信じられんかもしれんが、そのレナードが生きているらしいという噂を耳にしての。
ってことはもしかしたら父さんも生きているかも。
First thing we learn is that Berecca's father's name is Sean. Now, in the game lore and in prior lore, we did not have the name of Berecca's father at all. So the fact that we first now know Berecca's father's name is Sean, big deal. That's a big thing for the Ninjala community. I know a lot of people were speculating what his name was. However, the other thing that was talked about in this same meeting at the beginning of the episode was the fact that one of Berecca's father's colleagues named Leonard, who, if you guys are familiar with Ninjala at all, does play a decent role in Story Mode Chapter 2, and he will make an appearance in this episode as well. But Berecca's father's colleague, Leonard, that's really hard to say that 5 times fast, basically was helping survey Berecca's father's research on the Ninja Gun, because Berecca's father was doing it before Berecca jumped on board. Like, Burton was already in on the project, and Berecca came after her father got into some sort of accident, and Leonard was there. Leonard was there at the time Berecca's father supposedly died in this accident. However, in this beginning scene, we see that Genryu Sai tells Berecca that I have heard from a little bird that Leonard may very well be alive. And this kind of gets into Berecca's head a little bit, because what if not only that Berecca's colleague Leonard is alive, which we confirm, but Berecca's father himself is alive. We don't know. Will we ever see Berecca's father in the anime? I don't know. It really depends on how far the Ninjala anime is willing to go, or willing to give like backstories and flashbacks. But it's a really nice scene to open up the episode and kind of ask a couple questions. How did Berecca's father supposedly survive? How did Leonard survive? No one knows. No one knows what actually happened in the accident. All we know is that there was an accident between Berecca's father and his colleagues, and it supposedly led to Berecca's father's death. So an interesting way to start off the episode. But then the intrigue continues as the next scene jumps us to the WNA Council, once again discussing the issue with the Space Ninja, as they're becoming more and more of a problem. I think this is like the second or third mention of Leonard.
これで何度目の討伐だ。わからん。倒せど倒せど奴らは無数に湧いてくる。一体どれだけの数がいるんだ。確かにこの不毛な戦いはいつまで続くというのか。問題はそこだ。今現在我々は奴らについて知らないことが多すぎる。
He does have a point.
アレン長官の言う通り。
Believe it or not.
敵の規模、
どこを根城にしているのかそれすらも把握できていません。
スペース忍者を徹底的に調査する必要がありそうじゃな。
奴らを尾行し、その生態を探る。
Forward. So Alan suggests, of all people, as we saw in the last episode, Alan has other intentions, but Alan suggests that we need to tail the Space Ninja and discover how they operate. Where is their main base? Where is everything? Because there's really not a lot to know about the Space Ninja. Where do they come from? Where are they operating from? These are good questions. Now, granted, Alan probably wants to use them for nefarious purposes, but these are good questions to ask, and Luke obviously does agree with this. So, a plan gets devised in the very next scene to have the elite squad, the elite capture squad for the Space Ninja of the Oniwan Banshu, intentionally let a Space Ninja escape so our main 8 cast can track it for 6 hours. And that's exactly what they do. Good opening!
諸君、任務の内容は頭に叩き込んであるな。
もちろん舐めてもらっちゃ困るぜ。
よし、じゃあ行ってみろ。
なんだっけ。
討伐隊がスペース忍者をあえて逃がす。ミーたちは気づかれないよう尾行し、そのアジトを突き止める。
そう、それそれ。
よろしい。ただし尾行は6時間のみ。それ以上の深追いは禁物だ。
So, of course, as our main 8 characters going forward, as the Oniwan Banshu intentionally let the Space Ninja escape, our 8 main characters start the journey of tracking it. However, our 8 main characters are not the only one tracking the Space Ninja. As you see, tracking the Space Ninja along with our 8 main casts are members of the Shadow Ninja, which were introduced a couple episodes ago. And the Shadow Ninja, much like our characters in-game, pretty much possess very, very similar abilities to our characters when they have the ninja gum. They can morph, they can do whatever they want, and they have inherent ninja abilities, as we mentioned before in a previous anime discussion, that the Shadow Ninja at some point were probably an exiled branch of the Oniwan Banshu, according to what the Elite Capture members of the Elite Capture Squad said a couple episodes ago. So, interesting concept there. So, of course, as our 8 main characters are tracking it and the Shadow Ninja are tracking it, the Shadow Ninja come up with an idea. Because right now it is only one Purple Space Ninja that they are tracking. However, the Shadow Ninja decide to do something rather interesting. The Shadow Ninja, as they are tracking this Purple Space Ninja, decide to morph as they're tracking the Purple Space Ninja into more Purple Space Ninja.
もっと近づいても大丈夫そうだ。やめなさい、カッペ。ガムガムガム。
あんなの絶対すぐバレるぞ。カッペ、後でうんと説教ね。
ガムガムガムガムガムガムガムガムガム。
Yeah, something big's gonna happen. Something big is definitely gonna happen. I mean, we saw from the last episode that Burton might get left behind, but I think it's gonna be a little bit bigger than that. And the reason I know that they morphed into other Purple Space Ninja is because the way the main Purple Space Ninja sounds compared to how, like, Gunchi would sound is very different compared to how the Shadow Ninja sound when they are morphed into Purple Space Ninja. Now, obviously, this Purple Space Ninja is probably operating solo because suddenly 4 more Purple Space Ninja come around and surprise our lone solo Purple Space Ninja. Now, obviously, these are the Shadow Ninja, and you can tell in their voices. And this freaks out the Purple Space Ninja so much that the Purple Space Ninja bolts in another direction, and the 4 Purple Shadow Ninja, I should say, the morphed Shadow Ninja, split off into other directions. And you can clearly tell there is a difference in their voices, like I said again, and that's actually really important to what happens later in this episode. So bear in mind that the voices on the Purple Space Ninja are, like, one of the most important things. Those are the Shadow Ninja. Those are Shadow Ninja. They turned into the Space Ninja.
どういうこと？
because you're gonna find that some of the characters in the very next scene, all the characters split off basically as this purple space ninja, as the kids think they're all space ninja, go off in different directions, so all the kids split up, and some are gonna run into the Morph Shadow Ninja, and 2 characters in particular are going to run into the main purple space ninja that they were tracking at the beginning of the episode. So obviously the first 2 to split off are gonna be Van and Cappe, and they go after one of the space ninja on their own. Unfortunately, they actually end up going after one of the shadow ninja, from what I understand. Emma goes off in a direction. Lucy and Ron go off in one direction as Ron chases after Lucy. Jane and Berecca head off in one direction, and then Burton is left all alone.
Berecca, 僕らはこっちだ。あれ?
And gone. So as we cut to our next scene, Emma is walking down the road tracking the Space Ninja. And if you listen to the voice, it's very specific. Emma is the first character to run into the correct Purple Space Ninja. And did I say 2 characters earlier? I meant 3. So Emma is the first character that runs into the actual Purple Space Ninja, who is riding on top of a truck. Now, obviously, Emma, they were all given a piece of ninja gum, so Emma decides to engage on a skateboard, and damn, she's fast because she's able to catch up to the semi-truck really, really quickly in this scene. Now, unfortunately, driving this semi-truck is a ninja, and this ninja decides to drop some caltrops out the window. Now, based on the look of this ninja specifically, I actually think Leonard is the one driving this truck here, and there's a reason I think Leonard is driving this truck here, and I'll explain it as we go through on this scene. But Leonard decides to drop some caltrops down on the ground, which are basically just, they're basically road spikes. So Emma has to avoid them, and unfortunately, she kind of gets outpaced by the semi-truck because of this. As Leonard then drops a smoke bomb out the window, a couple bombs, a smoke bomb, and eventually the truck gets away. It's on top of the truck. I wonder what the Shadow Ninja... I mean, granted, we know what they have on Story Mode Chapter 2. Also, that was cool. That was a cool weapon reveal. Also, the fact that the ninja skateboard is as fast as the semi-truck, probably going 65, is ridiculous. Also...
What? もしかして忍者が乗ってる?
Smoke bombs? Okay, bigger smoke bomb. Interesting. Interesting. So then we cut to our next scene, and of course Van and Cappe are at a riverside, and they're gonna end up running into one of the morphed Shadow Ninja. And the reason you know this is obviously the tone and the voice is a little bit deeper. And Van and Cappe, well, unfortunately, they are in a bit of a precarious situation. Standing on the side of a riverbed, this Space Ninja decides, this Shadow Ninja decides, I'm gonna do what a Space Ninja would probably do. Chucks a rock at the back of Cappe and Van's head. And unfortunately, the Shadow Ninja kind of gets a little bit of a kick out of this and just starts whipping rocks at Van and Cappe. Van and Cappe are our comedic bit for this story, as they usually are. And unfortunately, they end up falling into the river. But I want to see how it progresses before I really think of anything else. So now we cut over to a random field out in the middle of, like, I guess kind of like it's a cornfield. It's a cornfield. So we cut out over to a cornfield, and Jane and Berecca are tailing another Space Ninja. Now, this is the same Space Ninja that is supposedly on top of the truck. They give the same voice to this Space Ninja. And what the Space Ninja does is, unfortunately, it discovers that Berecca and Jane are tracking it and manages to basically snatch their Maki phones and shatters them into absolute oblivion. And by shatter them into absolute oblivion, I mean it only shatters Jane's into absolute oblivion, because Berecca breaks hers as her Maki phone starts yelling that she has 30% body fat and she is not happy about it. I wonder if Leonard is like the leader of the Shadow Ninja and they have some interest in the Space Ninja. That was...
しまった。
何すんのよ。
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。
They're busted.
あ
Yup.
あ、よかった。まだ電源は入るわ。
あなたの体脂肪率は 30% です。
あ、そんなにないわよ。
まあ、あんた細く見えるけど意外と。
壊れてんのよこれ。
体脂肪率は 30% です。
そんなわけない。壊れてるに決まってるわ。ほら壊れてる。
So, you know, Berecca breaks her own phone, and then she goes, yeah, see, it's busted. Which a really funny scene for, it's a really funny scene for Berecca and Jane, and they do get a nice little side scene, a little comedic bit. This same Space Ninja that's in this cornfield, we cut to an event that happened a little bit earlier, and it's the same semi-truck that Emma was tracking earlier. We see this Space Ninja actually jump off the top of the semi-truck. Now, that's to get away. Obviously, it runs into Jane and Berecca probably very shortly after this, but coming also out of the back of the truck as the Space Ninja leaves, the back of the semi-truck opens and 4 more Shadow Ninja come out. So, obviously, the Shadow Ninja are coming after the Space Ninja for some reason. If you guys have played Story Mode Chapter 2, at some point there might be an alliance formed between the Shadow Ninja and the Space Ninja. If you guys have played Story Mode Chapter 2, basically, what ends up happening is one of the Space Ninja absorbs the Shadow Ninja, and it turns into this. So yeah, it turns into a really cool. It actually is a really cool fight for Story Mode Chapter 2. You do play as Berecca in Story Mode Chapter 2 as well, which just makes so much thematic sense. I really like what they did with the Shadow Space Ninja Morphling, because they have like claws, which was before, by the way, the claw weapons came out in Ninjala. So I think they had a nice little concept, and that was a cool boss fight on Story Mode Chapter 2, but that's you know, that's part of the Ninjala game. So, then we cut back to Van and Cappe, and unfortunately, they have been washed down the river. So what did they decide to do for the rest of the episode? Well, they're gonna fish, because they're by a river, and they decide to fish. And honestly, you know what? Women hate them. Fish fear them. They're fishermen at heart, both of them. So, obviously, the only other 2 characters we haven't seen this entire episode are Ron and Lucy, and unfortunately, they have tracked the Space Ninjas so far, they've lost them, and now they're stranded on the side of the road. So, Ron decides, I gotta do this taxi thing. So he's gonna put his thumb up to try and get someone to stop so they can, you know, get driven back to Eagle City, get driven back to the WNA Academy, and Lucy's just ruining it. Every time Ron gets a vehicle to stop, Lucy just says something that has them drive off. Ooh, Ron paired up with Lucy, though? This is not gonna end well. There's no way this ends well.
くそ、見失うとは。ここからどうやって帰れと言うんだ。来た。あれにかけるぞ。
Ron doing a taxi thing. I love it.
この車よこしな。
As the scene continues on, we get a cut back over to Burton, and Burton is also kind of in this desert area, and he's like very alone walking down the road. And it's actually, believe it or not, it's the cut back to what happened in the last episode where they were all separated like that, and this is the same scene that plays. Burton walking down the road, the camera kind of zooms in, he turns toward it and wonders, you know, where the heck am I going at this point? Which is cool. I like the callback to the last episode and the fact that there was a preview to what was shown from the last episode to this episode, and the fact that they kept that in was really cool, because sometimes between previews and actual episode it does change if you watch, but it didn't really change for this episode. But I thought something a lot bigger was going to happen based on how the scene was. But it's the fact that it's this, I'm not mad about, because this was kind of a cool episode. At this point, all the characters basically make their way back to the WNA. First people to arrive back in the WNA are Berecca and Jane, and the farmer, obviously buying into Jane's story, gave Berecca and Jane a whole bunch of corn from the field, which I think is really funny, and there's a really comedic bit about that.
ありがとうもし契約が決まったら連絡するわ
It's physically impossible for him to hear that in the plane while it's
ひど
going,
いわね
but you know what? I'm not going to complain.
二人とも無事だったか
スペース忍者のアジトは突き止められた
すみません途中で見失ってしまって
無事なら何よりだわ
ところでお前たち背負っているのは何だ
トウモロコシです
お土産です
We get to Rana and Lucy, and how they get back to the academy is very interesting because somehow down in this desert at some point, a red car is speeding down the road being chased by the cops. Now, obviously, Lucy thinks this is a little fun. So what does she do? She pulls out the scrap saber and literally splits the road in half.
そこの車止まりなさい
Something a little different.
あれは無理だな
何あれ楽しそうな遊びしてるね
君どきなさい
あたいも遊んでやんよ
Totally just stop the car.
そこの君おとなしくしなさい
Oh boy. You initially think, oh man, Lucy's in trouble as she gets surrounded by cops at the end of this scene. But we find out later that they were pretty happy that Lucy stopped the robbery and decided to drive them back to Eagle City and the Academy, obviously keeping them safe. So, cool! Lucy got to shine a little bit in this episode. It feels like Lucy always gets the cool action sequences. We haven't seen like too many of the other characters get like super good action sequences yet. But it feels like Lucy is like the big fighter of the group, so I can't like be opposed. Burton then is on his way. He's walking by some train tracks, and obviously he's using his shadow as a guide because obviously the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, or opposite. Yeah, east-west. It's east-west. And that's what he's using to adjust the direction. So he's trying to get back to the academy using that. But the good news is he's next to a train track, and as a train goes by, Burton decides, oh, there's probably a connector rail from another train that's going in the opposite direction. So I'll hop on that train and then hop on the other train. And that's exactly what Burton does. And the same thing happens with Van and Cappe later that evening as they get on top of the bridge after they're done fishing. And they manage to catch the train as well back to the academy. And unfortunately for Burton decided because he was so exhausted, he fell asleep on the train ride home. And he's 1,500 kilometers away, and and Bruce, not happy. He's not happy. He's yelling at him, and he's like, sorry, I just must have got lost for time, and we all know that's not the case, and he fell asleep, so.
バートン
はい何バートンお前今どこにいるんだ
はあ1500キロほど離れた場所でしょうか
一体どうやったらそんな遠くへ行けるんだ
ですよね
However, that's not the end of the episode, because in the very next scene, we get Leonard. We actually get a good first look at Leonard, and he looks a little bit different compared to how he does in Story Mode Chapter 2. In Story Mode Chapter 2, they made Leonard a bit bulkier. He's kind of like a bit bulkier, broader shoulders, kind of wider frame, but still built. However, in the anime, it's very different. They actually made him, he still has the bulk to him, but he's a little thinner compared to what I think he was in Story Mode Chapter 2. And man, we do get a good look at Leonard here, because Leonard is running through the forest here, being flanked by two Shadow Ninja. Now, what I find interesting about this scene is that Leonard kind of flies off the screen, and then it goes back behind the tree as the Shadow Ninja run by him. What's really weird about this scene, though, is that when they cut over to Leonard, they zoom in, he's got a sweat drop coming down his face. That's Leonard. That's Leonard. And they're gonna end it right there. Weird! because I thought he works for the Shadow Ninja, and I still think he does. I think this nervousness is something else. Something maybe happened with the Space Ninja and Shadow Ninja and Leonard where I think he's nervous like this to stop by the tree. Also, it's a dramatic effect shot for this. But it's weird to think that, was Leonard maybe being tracked by the Shadow Ninja, or does he make an alliance with them going into Story Mode Chapter 2? But then I think that wouldn't make sense, because if he was the one driving the truck with the Shadow Ninja in the back, he's already working with the Shadow Ninja. So you can see where my intrigue and confusion comes in a couple parts in this episode. But I would say overall, this is not a bad episode. It's nice to take a break from all the lore and really heavy moments sometimes. And while we do get bits of it here and there in this episode, this was, again, like just a little fun episode where the animators can relax. They don't have to really animate everything well to establish everything with the lore. And they can use a lot of reused frames in this episode, as we saw with Ron and Lucy on the road. We saw that frame being reused like 3 times. It's a nice way for animators to relax, but it's also a way to because when there's an episode that's not super action heavy and stuff like that, usually what ends up happening in shows like this, when you don't have scenes that have heavy action or heavy, like, character emotions that need to be portrayed, usually it's a younger team of animators that is doing more of like a chill episode, more of like a relaxing episode, kind of like this. So I'm assuming what they had a lot of their younger animators actually on this episode for whoever's doing for the studio that's doing the Ninjala anime, which I believe is also the same studio that does one of the Pokemon animes, if I'm not mistaken. But it's nice to see other animators getting their chance to shine. And while it might not be an action-heavy scene, while it could be more of a simple scene, it's still nice for them to learn and experience with the guidance of the animation directors, who are usually the ones that are doing, besides their action animator specialists, the animation directors are usually the ones who go over scenes at the end, and they'll make sure everything is like relatively on model. They will go over and they'll usually put their hand more in the heavy action scenes where they need more experienced animators. But it's really cool to see that that we can take a break from this episode. We can take a break from some of the lore and stuff like that and have more animators shine than we do in this show, because I don't know if you guys know, but animation's a massive industry right now, and ever since the pandemic, the actual industry for animation has grown exponentially. So there's a lot of spaces and places for people to shine in the animation industry that you've never seen animate before. And that's really awesome, especially coming from someone who does have an animation degree and does want to get into that field, does want to get into a job where I can be able to do that. More so if, this doesn't work out. And if YouTube doesn't work out, I'm obviously going to do YouTube on the side constantly. I love making content. I love editing. I think that's a great way to develop a portfolio as well, doing editing content. But my main passion really lies in content creation and animation. So it would be nice to get into the field and do something like this with the Ninjala anime. Now, I do think they had some of their more experienced animators with the Shadow Ninja scene and Leonard, because those were more well done, I would say, than the other parts of the episode. But overall, it was a very interesting episode. Like I said, I was confused and intrigued the entire way through this episode, and I actually don't think that's a bad thing. But of course, I'd like to know what you guys thought of the Ninjala anime episode down in the comments section below. Let me know what your favorite part was. Let me know if you guys have any crazy theories as well regarding Leonard in the Shadow Ninja and how they maybe came to an alliance. What actually happened with Berecca's dad, Sean? Is he alive? Is he captured by the Shadow Ninja? We don't know. We don't know any of that. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. And of course, if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor and hit that like button, as well as hitting that subscribe button if you guys enjoyed the content on the channel. It would really mean a lot to me if we could hit 5,000 subs by the end of the year. I have big projects planned. One of them will probably take 2 years. It is an animated project, for those wondering, and this is just one of the big projects that I want to do. This is an animated project that I'm working on, and it will probably take 2 years to fully develop. I'm still getting people together for it. We do have some stuff boarded out already. I don't want to spoil exactly what it is, but I will say I do think a lot of people will enjoy what we're doing. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So I hope you guys are looking forward to the big projects. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And of course, until then, this is CAJ Man 777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.